Hello, everyone. Welcome to Prop Live. This is our weekly prop and costume making technique Q&A session. Say that 5 times fast. We're back again, of course, after the holidays. We're in the new year. It's 2016. Everyone set some awesome goals last week. Things are looking great. And we have, of course, more Prop Live shows coming at you every week with more wonderful, amazing guests. And this week is no exception. We have with us Kat from Valkyrie Studios. Hello, Kat. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing pretty good. Too many things going on in my life right now, but other than that, sweet.
Story of my life. The story of my life, for sure. But hopefully you can cut through all of the chaos and get some of those projects done. I've been watching a lot of the progress that you've been working on, all the dozens of projects you've been doing. Like some wings? What you want to tell us what those wings are for out in the back there?
The wings are like hiding way back there. So one of the projects I'm working on right now is a redesign of Marvel's Valkyrie by Zach Fisher, who does a lot of like custom like cosplay designs.
Yes.
Really, really nice stuff. I've yet to commission him for something because I can't decide on quite what, but he has this Valkyrie redesign, and I call myself Valkyrie Studios, and I figured I might as well make a Valkyrie. And one thing like I've always wanted to try making is wings, even though his version doesn't technically have them. I figured, hey, Valkyries have wings, sort of, depending on the version of the story you're reading, and I was like, well, let's make some.
Yeah, that's awesome. And wings are a supremely technical challenge too. So I'm impressed that you are giving it a go, because that's not even something I've tried to do before, because it's very daunting.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I think mine are gonna have like, I think it's like an 8.5-foot wingspan, and like get incredibly tall.
Parts. You said you're getting
like putting pneumatics in.
Pneumatics, yeah. Here, I'm trying to find it. Here it is. So this is what I saw the other day. The mechanics of it on Instagram over there.
Yeah.
Of the winglings moving successfully, it looks like.
Oh, boo. I have a cute little, like, popsicle stick one that I made that I've been using as, like, a reference. It's like 1/4 scale.
Yeah.
And, like, I've been, like, measuring that up and, like, oh, here, where I drill the holes and everything, because it's much easier to build with, like, wood.
Yeah.
Little square wood things and, like, push pins than it is to screw up, because
that's cool.
I did literally buy out all the 3/4 inch aluminum box tubing in 20 miles from Bellevue, so
yeah.
It's like I will buy all of this. How come none of you have more than like 2.5 feet of it? Please.
Is that in Bellevue, Washington?
Yeah.
Oh, well, great. That means that's probably
you can't have it
near my house. Yeah. Well, cool. I'm really stoked to see how that's going to come together. For those of you who are new to Kat's work, you can head on over to ValkyrieStudios.net. Of course, we'll have a link in the show notes where you can check out a bunch of her work, including some cool tutorials.
They're under blog, I think.
Blog. The one of the ones that I liked a lot was the shoulder smoke thing.
Yeah.
Mini fog machine. That was really cool. That's the kind of technique, like, now that I saw you do that, I'm like, I need to figure out what costume I'm going to incorporate something like that into.
Yeah, I learn a lot from, like, really, like, complex messaging board, like, forum style things like that I picked up. Like, the technical stuff from a bunch of, like, Ghostbusters, like, forums, and then I tried to, like, make it into a slightly more user-friendly tutorial, because it was hard for me to understand, and the pictures weren't, like, amazing, and it was several years old. I was like, well, since I'm making it anyway and I have to take pictures anyway, let's just, like, make a tutorial.
Yeah, that's great.
Like, you've got 1,000 disclaimers on it, because if it catches on fire, I'm sorry, I don't know how to fix that. Don't die.
Cool. So yeah, folks watching at home, definitely go over to ValkyrieStudios.net and look up a bunch of those really, really great tutorials. I know I'll be over there as soon as I figure out what I want to make foggy. And you used like basically an e-cigarette thing, right?
Yeah, I have one that's like kind of taken apart over here because it was not cooperating. They are fiddly, but
Oh,
You
yeah.
take one of these e-cig cartomizers and you attach a fish tank pump. And this is a board from Adafruit that you can use to send signals to it, like, and yes.
Yeah.
And you can click it on and off, so you don't have to like press buttons or anything, which is nice, because if it's like, for mine, they were hidden in like big bulky shoulders and I didn't want to like stick my hand in there and like turn it off and on. The cartomizers do burn out though if you keep them on too long, which is what happened to this guy. So, and they don't like being soldered too, but you can like kind of finagle it and like drill a bunch of holes in it, be like solder. You can stick to that. Anyway, yeah.
That's fantastic. Cool. And one of the other things I wanted to talk about was the prop contest, I believe at Kamikaze, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I've been really excited to see these pop up. My buddy Steven Meisner and his girlfriend Kit have been trying to make prop contests a thing, kind of like how costume contests are a thing.
No, it's like amazing idea. Like, I just think it's so cool, and there should be definitely more of them.
Oh yeah, I really wanted to go. I didn't have the opportunity to go down to LA that weekend, but I wanted to go check it out. Can you tell us a little bit about what the prop contest experience was like?
It was pretty sweet. Like, there were so many amazing props there. So the day one, which was Friday, we had to like bring them in at like 11 or noon. The hours for Kamikaze are a little wonky. They're different every day, but we brought them in just before the show started and like arranged them, checked in and like arranged them in Solo Robato's booth, and just had it like a whole bunch of shelves, and like mine's like a 6'2" gigantic monster with spikes everywhere, which is hard to fit on his shelf, but somehow he managed. There were like a ton of amazing other props there, like just like the craftsmanship one, like everything was amazing.
And so yours, just so everyone at home knows, is this guy here, the giant bow with the glowing bits on it?
Giant bow with glowing bits on it, which I will pull out.
Oh, you got it right there.
Giant glowy bits bow that weighs 12
great.
pounds and is ready to murder my face. Like,
one of the questions we get frequently is about the a lot of times like bows or swords or stuff in video games will have some sort of glowing element that's kind of ethereal. And I think like your solution for the ends of that bow was one of the most effective ones.
It's effective, but is most of the weight of the bow.
Yes, exactly.
Because it's like 6 pounds of cast resin, and I'm like,
yeah,
don't do it to yourself, or at least make the handle not round. Because when people are like, hold out the bow like you're shooting, and it's like the bow is twisting in my hand because the weight is all at the ends and like does strange things.
So for that one though, you made molds and then I believe embedded the LEDs right in the casting.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. So the LEDs are in here. Actually, I don't know. I have one somewhere where I forgot to center it in the mold properly. So I went through several copies of the end pieces.
Oh yeah, like you do, definitely like you do. That was cool, and
it took me a couple to figure out that LEDs like to float in resin.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to know. Yeah.
Yes.
Be a lesson,
what I did was like I inserted a piece of clear plastic along like the widest ridges, and I just sort of sat it on top of that, just like It didn't sink or float or anything.
Cool. LEDs are buoyant. Who knew? Cool. And of course, you ended up winning, right?
Yeah. So Saturday was the cosplay contest, and it was like exhausting. And I had the bow, and I kept like coming back and forth to the booth. It's like, can I borrow the bow? And like, yes, I did make a video on the bow casting, which is there. But so Sunday, like everyone was behind stage with their props, and we went inside and like talked to a whole bunch of very nice judges. I know Holly Conrad was one of them, and one of the things we'd been asked to bring was like a write-up of like your process. And because I'd done sort of a write-up for the web already on the bow, because people had been asking about it, I basically just like threw it in a Word document. It's like, here you go. Here's like all the photos of me carving this. The core is PVC and then spray foam, like expanding foam, which was carved sadly over many weeks.
Oh yeah.
And was coating everything. It was no. Don't do it. Don't use expanding foam, because it's starting to degrade under the weight of the end pieces now.
Oh no, yeah.
So it's getting unstable, and like I think my
Yeah.
photo shoot this past weekend was like the last I'll be able to do with it without it like snapping in half, which is sad.
It'll be that's the expanding foam urethanes and stuff like that can be kind of misleading because they feel really rigid, but over time they can sort of wear away.
Yeah.
So some sort of like underlying structure can be really helpful. But it served its purpose. It got you a win, and it's looked good in some really good photos. I know I built a staff for my Dragon Age costume a long time ago, and I took it out to one photo shoot, and then I hung it up on the wall, and it lives there forever because it's flimsy and it will break, so it just stays there.
Someday I'll like sculpt one that's like symmetrical, because one of my issues is everything's like a little bit off symmetry-wise. I want to make a symmetrical, perfect one that's like roto-cast and like has like foam going through it, so like super strong and everything. I was like, let's just do that. Someday in the future, I'll make a perfect one.
Yes, I have a someday list myself. Basically, every project I've ever done, I'm like, someday I'll do every one of them again. Cool. That is exciting. It's been really, really fun watching your progress, and I'm especially stoked to see what more tutorial stuff you're making. The thing we have going on over here, people at home want to know, I'm working on a gun from Destiny made out of foam. This is I like calling it the foam rabbit, even though it's the jade rabbit. And this is for our next book. We're going to have a Foamsmith 2 out pretty soon, all about weapons, and this will be an example piece for that. So I've been turning on that. And then I've got some 3D printed pieces here. I've been working on my 3D printing game. These are pieces of Ray's gun from the new Star Wars. Ta-da! And I'll tell you what, the iterations I'm going through, most of these pieces I've printed at least twice. I'm really starting to learn a lot about what my printer is, what's possible with the printer, the level or the barrier of my 3D modeling skills, which I keep running into. But I'm having a fun go at it. For example, this morning, this piece I 3D printed a little wide, so I just ran it through my bandsaw and sliced a piece off, which was kind of fun. Even though this, I think I threw the other part of it away. But even though this is a 3D printed project, there's going to be a lot of just traditional work that went into it, including just running it through the bandsaw. And now you can see its guts, and I made a little spot for the trigger in there. So that's what I've been up to anyway, along with just a whole crap load of other stuff to get ready for the new year. Oh, yeah. Well, Kat, we've got a whole bunch of questions about how to make stuff. How do you feel about digging into those?
Let's do it.
You ready?
I love answering questions. Like, that's one of the reasons I do what I do, is just to like answer questions. For those of you, I thought I'd be doing this, but
trust me. If you told me 5 or 6 years ago when I had a job in corporate America, if I would be doing this for a living, I would have called you crazy. Let's see here. Oh, by the way, folks that are watching live, if you head on over to the event page, we have a Q&A app. You can dump questions into there. They'll show up on my screen. But we got a bunch of questions from earlier on today, so we'll start digging into those. This one comes from Zach. He says, specifically to Kat, what do you look for most when choosing a new costume to tackle?
Well, for me, it has a lot to do with, like, I really enjoy complex projects, like things that's a part of why I don't do a lot of like tailoring work, other than the fact that I'm really bad at sewing, is I just feel like you can get more complexity out of like armor and things like that. I like doing things that are a challenge, because if it's easy, I don't learn anything, and that's what I like doing. Is every project I want to learn something. Like last project, it was like fog machines and more Arduino things and stuff like that. And this project, I've never made like swords before, so I made like a sword. The wings, of course, are new. Yeah. 2 projects back, it was like Arduinos and casting and things like that.
Cool. I'm the same way too. For example, well, 2 things: whether I can learn something new in the project, or if I can justify buying a new tool. That's another one. For example, I want to buy a milling machine for doing more, like I was saying before, I'm doing more stuff with aluminum. I want to do, I'm on a Star Wars kick, obviously. I want to do the
Who in the world is not on a Star Wars?
I know, right? It's fine. My little brother, who is a super jock, is going to see Star Wars tonight. Like he chose to go see Star Wars. I'm like, yeah, go nerds. Woo! Anyway, I want to make Han Solo's blaster, and I want to mill all of the parts out of actual metal. So I'm like, that's an excuse to buy a new tool and learn how to use it.
Yeah, I got a belt sander and a scroll saw for Christmas, and I'm like, yes. Actually make things out of wood now instead of everything else. I don't know. I feel like I can actually make props and stuff now, because before I just haven't had the tools. But then I fly back to college and I don't have access to the tools, and I'm like, I just want to make things. It's like, ugh.
I'll tell you what, 3D printer, you can fit that in a dorm room.
Yeah, but 3D printers are expensive. Someday. I want one, but someday.
Someday. All right, let's grab another question. This one's from Bud. I don't know that I know much about this, but he's curious. He wants to make a mold to cast aluminum by melting soda cans. And I've never done any metal casting other than pewter, which melts at a very low temperature. Have you done any metal casting?
I haven't, but usually what I've seen for metal casting is plaster molds. Things like that. I've never done it myself, just because hot metal is something I've yet to get into, because safety and space and time.
Yeah.
Someday.
I've seen sand molds before, either plaster or sand. I know I've seen people make a master out of styrofoam and then embed it in sand and then pour molten aluminum on that. And it melts the styrofoam and fills the cavity with molten.
Yeah. And there's the lost wax casting methods.
Yeah.
Casting metal.
So there's a couple of things for you to look up, Bud. I don't have a lot of experience with that, though. So good luck and be safe, because
hot metal, dangerous.
All right, let's grab one here from one of our regulars, Monk. He says, he can't join the live stream, but he has one question. Is there a way to avoid brush marks when using acrylics? Have a nice live session. I like to spray my paints whenever I can. So with acrylics, I'll thin it with water or alcohol and then run it through an airbrush. That's usually what I like to do. Have you done much spraying or airbrushing?
So this summer, I bought an airbrush.
Yes.
It's the best money I have ever spent in my entire life, and I'm never going to go back unless I absolutely have to. I tried hand painting something earlier this month, and it was no. Airbrush looked better. So yes, I'm also in the use an airbrush if humanly possible camp. Do lots of diluting, stipple brushing, and all that helps to sort of even out the brush marks, especially if you're doing gradients. Anyway, don't go super thick on things. Just watering things down usually helps with brush marks.
Yeah, I like especially with the airbrush doing several thin coats, because if you go really thin with it, it'll dry almost right away, and then you can apply another coat and then another coat, as opposed to dousing the whole thing and then you have to wait 3 days for it to dry.
Same with brushed things, brushed acrylics. It works the same way. You do really thin coats, really liquidy coats first, so it's not a really thick sort of. If you're doing it on canvas, then you want lots of acrylic because texture, but you don't want that in this case. And for especially metallic things, try to spray it if you can, because metallics and brush marks don't go well together.
There you go. There's some stuff. Short answer, Monk, go buy yourself an airbrush. They're awesome. All right, another one here. Let's see. McKenna wants to know, can you do a video tutorial on how to wire LEDs and how to wire them to battery packs? I did a similar one for the Draugr eyes. We'll have a link to that in the notes, but also a couple of notes here. Coregeek Props did a tutorial. It's a video actually on how to do strip lighting, and Kamui Cosplay also did an LED basics tutorial video. Both of those will be linked down in the description, of course. But
I have a super simple one on my blog somewhere.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what your preferred setup is for running LEDs.
I really like So you can get these. I don't have any on me right now. I use a lot of JST connectors and like the Adafruit switched JST connector boards. I just use like mostly exclusively Adafruit things because they're awesome. But I stick the prongs of the LEDs into one of the spare JST connectors, and then I just sort of solder that on, so it like slips on, and you don't have to solder things to the legs of the LEDs itself, and then you just sort of connect those to the switched boards, add a resistor if you need to, and then like I use like batteries with JST connectors that I then just sort of like plug into the boards.
And here's a connector thing right here on Adafruit. If you guys want something, a visual representation, that's what it looks like when you plug it in there. That's really handy.
Let me go toss a link to the, I have a picture tutorial up on my website somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll share that link in the description, of course. Yeah, the gist of it, though, for me, when I do really, really basic stuff, I prefer to not do math or add resistors. So I just pick LEDs that'll run off of 3 volts and just like hot glue them together. No, it's not true. Just solder them in parallel. Usually I do that, again, because went to art school and I don't know how to do math. But that's the basic way I do it. But yeah, lots and lots of tutorial stuff that we'll include in the show notes for this.
Yeah, I just tossed a link in to chat for my picture-based tutorial on how I do the simple switched things that don't involve Arduinos or whatever.
Yes. All right, cool. Well, thank you. That was McKenna for the question. Good luck with your wiring project. And the next one comes from Lord Prius. And he wants to know, what is a good bandsaw substitute for those who don't have the money to buy one? So what have you been doing? You don't have a bandsaw, right? You said you just got a scroll saw?
Just a scroll saw and the chop saw that my parents own and I steal.
Haha. So what sort of saws, like non-powered saws, would you go for, sans bandsaw? Like, do you have a favorite handsaw, like a coping saw? You ever go?
Yeah, I've got a coping saw and a hacksaw and just your normal saws. I try not to do sawing as much as possible, though. Now I can do like a little bit with my wonderful scroll saw. That's awesome.
Did you use the chop saw for all that aluminum?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of aluminum cutting.
But I will say I have a chop saw and I don't use it very often, but when I need it, boy, is it handy to have.
Yeah. I cut the sword out that I then covered in Worbla with my scroll saw. I will have a video of all that Valkyrie progress up eventually when I get back to my desktop, which has video editing software on it.
Very good. Well, I will tell you, I have 2 bandsaws because I'm spoiled.
Can I steal one of those from you?
You can come use one of them if you want. Like that one right there is like 6 feet tall, so good luck. But anyway, the smaller one that I have, I think new was like $120, $130. If you look for them on Craigslist, used for like a 9-inch one like that, you can get them for much cheaper. If you want to start saving up now, they're totally worth having. If not, you're kind of stuck with something like a coping saw, which is just a small hand saw. You can get those really cheap at Harbor Freight. And then if you have a rotary tool like a Dremel, there's a lot you can do with that. Like get the cutoff.
I recommend Dremels. Dremels are amazing.
Yes,
that was my only power tool for like 2.5 years. So it's like,
yeah, you know what? I've been like with this foam build here. I've been using all the power tools. Part of the next book I want to talk about more, trying to encourage people to invest in better power tools. So I've been using the bandsaw a lot. I used my drill press. I did not use my laser cutter. I figured I draw the line there. So for all of the knurling I did on the side of this thing, that was all cut by hand.
Eternally jealous of laser cutter and 3D printers. Someday.
Someday, or you get to, when you grow, or my age, you can afford all the big tools, I guess. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I used all the big power tools like that because I want to encourage people. But at some point, I would love to try and do something just like this. Actually do a video on it, where I do the whole thing with a Dremel, just start to finish, just a Dremel and all the different bits.
Dremels can do everything.
Yeah, I just kind of want to prove that to people. It's like, yes, I have all these cool toys and tools, but you can totally do all of it with a Dremel. Just takes a little longer. There you go, Lord Prius. Good luck, sir. All right, another one of our regulars here, Fearless Facade. He says, do you ever get halfway into painting something and you're not happy with it, with how it's turning out? That's where he is with this Darth Vader mask that he's making. He's considering starting again. I will say just about every paint job I've done, there's a point where you look at it and you're just like, oh, like totally not happy with it. Usually I just push through to the end, and by the time I weather it, it looks good. But sometimes if I'm not happy with how it's going, I sand the whole thing down and I start over. It's just, I have a particular look I'm going for. That's what I usually do. I'm trying to think of an example. I know I had something recently where it just wasn't working out, and I used like acetone and I just wiped all the paint off, and then I sanded it and repainted it. But yeah, definitely. You ever repaint anything, Kat?
The bow's actually been repainted twice now. The first time I did it, I didn't have an airbrush, so I redid it with an airbrush, and then about halfway through, I broke my elbow.
Oh no!
And so I was doing it one-handed. Like, I finished the night before the prop contest, and I was like, let's just somehow be done with this. And I'm actually thinking about repainting something right now, because I just put the Plasti Dip coats on my Valkyrie armor, and the first one went on fine, and then the second one, it was really cold in my garage, and it just turned out super lumpy, and it was like, no, this is supposed to be metal.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, like, can you sand Plasti Dip? I haven't really worked with it very well. I'm just worried about it all coming off. Yeah,
it's tricky to kind of to try and go in there and sand it.
Damn you, cold.
It has been kind of chilly around here lately. All right, there you go. That was Fearless Facade with his question about painting. Yes, most stuff gets repainted. Next question here. Yes, at least once. Next question comes in from Cyber Patriot. What is a good suggested latex to use for covering foam? How many layers of latex should be used to coat the foam? Have you ever done any stuff with latex, Kat?
I have yet to work with latex, although it is on my to-do at some point in the future list that everyone has too many things on.
Cool. Well, you'll be happy to know my next book covers it extensively.
Yeah, I will learn from this.
Yeah, I love coating foam with latex. I use this stuff here. Polytech makes it. It's called Poly Latex 60. And it comes in kind of a paste. So even if you get this smaller container, this 2-pound container, I end up diluting it 50-50 with distilled water. You get a little more volume that way. So that's a great place to start. I bought the 5-gallon bucket of it. It's down there. It's a monster, but I plan on doing lots more latex stuff. My general advice for that is to brush. Oops, I'm throwing stuff. Brush 2 good layers on your costume or prop first of the latex, so you get it in all the nooks and crannies, and then using a critter sprayer, spray 5 good layers on top of that, and you should be good to go. That is my recommendation. And then you'll get a nice durable rubber coating on it. There you go. There you go. Thank you, Cyber Patriot. Let's grab another one. This one, another regular here. Lee wants to know, are Bondo and Apoxie Sculpt basically the same thing? When would you use one over the other? Aha! Do you have a favorite body filler, Kat?
Apoxie Sculpt and Freeform Air. I kind of use both, but it depends. Like, Apoxie Sculpt I use when I want something like hard and smooth, and Freeform Air is when I want something like that takes up a lot of space, but it's lighter, which is really nice.
Yeah. The major difference between them is the curing time, because Bondo can cure and be sanded in like half an hour to like half hour, 45 minutes. Those other ones, I tend to sculpt them, in the evening and then just let them cure overnight. But they sand really nicely. They're a little bit more dense, I would say, a little bit stiffer to sand than Bondo, but you can really refine it after it's been cured. And
I buy freeform air in very large buckets.
I see that. That's impressive.
I used a lot of it on my last costume for like ridges because foam bevels hate me, so I just sculpted everything.
Yes. For example, this little piece right here, I wanted to make a little sunk in part for the trigger, and I used Bondo because it was really fast. Like I was able to do that in about an hour and sand it down. Whereas freeform sculpt, you have it's less. Bondo is more liquidy. With the sculpting stuff, it's more like a clay. You have a lot more control before it cures. Yeah. So they each serve their purpose. Bondo is more of just a filler. Thank you, Lee. Let's see here. We've got another one from. Oh, this is an interesting one. Mike wants to know, what are the steps for making an ebook? Step 1, write your ebook. I know it sounds simple, but just
Step 2, cry.
Step 2, cry. There's a lot of crying in the process. No, I think there are a couple different ways you can approach it. So I'll use your site as an example, Kat, since I have it open. You have a blog. You've got some great content on there. I would recommend doing something like that, starting your own blog, practice writing, get content out there. And then if you have enough content created around any one particular subject, take that content and either rewrite it or repurpose it into an ebook. That's kind of what I did with my first ebook. It was just a general prop making ebook. So I took a lot of the old tips and tutorials that I had on my website and just sort of reconfigured them into a book. And I literally wrote that whole thing in Google Docs, and then I just exported a PDF, and I was like, I'm an author now. And that's it. That's really all you have to do to get that first one out the door, which is the most important part. After that, you can learn more about like formatting and printing and all that fun stuff. But until you get that first 1 or 2 out the door, don't fret too much about the specifics. Yeah.
Someday I will make a book.
Sure.
But I just have to like you said, I have to figure out enough content because it's like there's so many people making awesome ebooks that I'm just like everyone else is covering things and I don't know what to talk about because everyone else is talking about them already. So someday I'll figure out what I should talk about.
Yeah. One thing to remember too is that a lot of people want to hear something in your voice. Just because someone else has covered something doesn't mean that people don't want to hear your take on it, especially when it comes to technique stuff. Because even though I make foam armor and Evil Ted makes foam armor, we both kind of go about it in a lot of similar ways, but we have our own particular style and our own particular voice. The way we say what we say, and that means people want to watch both of our videos, which is pretty great. Which means I didn't have to murder him in his sleep when I was down in LA. There can be only one foam man. Killed him. Thank you, Mike. All right, let's get another one here. This one is Isla. Let's see. After you confirm a commission, do you take part of the payment at the beginning and the rest of it when it's finished? Have you done any commission stuff yet, Kat?
Not yet, although that's one of my goals for this year is do a commission.
I was going to say, I'm willing to bet people have been asking.
1 or 2.
Yeah.
Mainly it's like, can I buy the bow for like $20? And I'm like, no, you can't buy the bow for $20.
There are a lot of different ways to handle commission stuff. In fact, I did a video a long time ago about the general commission process. I'm sure we'll link to that down in the description of this episode. But yeah, when I do take commissions on the rare occasion, I get a 50% deposit up front before it gets started. That's so I can go get materials. That's holds a person's place in line, and then the remainder when it's done, plus shipping before I mail it out. That's how I do. I had another one. What is your dream project? I've gone over mine a whole bunch on this show. What about you, Kat? Do you have any pie in the sky dream projects?
I have 2 right now. They're both like very different from each other. One I've had for a while is a dream project because I am bad at sewing, is to do Padme Amidala's invasion red gown from the first Star Wars Episode 1, just because it's pretty and I've always really liked it. And my second one is to do Desert Queen Zagara from Heroes of the Storm, and that's a dream because it's a gigantic bug that I am part of.
That
and
sounds
it's just
pretty
big
awesome.
and I don't have space. Because I live in a dorm room and my workspace is about a 3 foot by 4 foot like desk space, and I can't make a giant bug.
Someday. I will say I just watched Empire Strikes Back again, and I really want to build a full-size snowspeeder that I can get in. That's just the thing that's going to happen.
I'm excited to see the snowspeeder that's going to happen.
Me too. This is like a 10-year project. We'll see how it goes. I have to buy a house first.
Yes.
Let's see here. Another question. Oh, that one came in from Isla. Thank you for your question. Next one comes from Albert. He says he finally bought his first power tool. It's a belt sander. He says his issue is that the belt sander eats his foam really fast. That's true. He says, do you have any recommendation on like what sanding belt I need to use? What do you have on yours? Do you have like one of those belt sanders that's a belt and a disc combo? One of those guys?
I've only sanded balsa wood on mine so far, so I can understand from like my dremeling practice how fast it would eat foam.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Don't have any tips on foam because I've yet to do any sanding, so probably just you.
Yeah, I will say a lot of it has to do with just good like hand coordination and practice. The belt sander, so mine's got the belt part of it is kind of like the Wild West. There's a little stop on it, but it doesn't have like a tilting bed on it, which I wish it did. The disc sander part of it does, and that can be really handy because it's got a miter that you can run things across, so you can slowly feed your piece of foam into the whirling, spinning plate of death. And yeah, but a lot of it really is just practice. Usually those things come with like 80 grit on there. You might want to bump that up to like 120 or 220 for foam stuff. But I have a normal 80 grit or 100 grit on there, I think. I can't tell from here. And mostly I just am very gentle when I'm feeding foam into it. That's all really the only tip I can give. Practice. Yeah. Good luck, Albert, with your foam eating machine. All right, this next one. Boy, we got a lot of questions from earlier today. Thank you guys so much for bringing these great questions. And our chat is so active. You can see them right down here. I love watching those guys chat away. Next one comes from Chris. Let's see here. He has a friend who needs to get his costume across the country. There are armor pieces like the full helmet, shoulders, neck, chest piece made of plastic. He says, let's see here. Oh, he's worried about it getting damaged. Any advice? Now, you probably shipped some of your costumes, I presume?
Many yes. Up and down. Back and
forth. All right, let's hear about it.
From LA to Seattle and back, like many times. The bow's been on a plane like 6 times, I think now. It's kind of insane.
And you can't just walk through, you can't just put that in the security thing? They won't let you.
No, it's like here's a giant like foam electronics thing. I just buy really large double wall cardboard boxes and then wrap everything in a lot of bubble wrap. And because they almost always get opened by the TSA because props and costumes are not your traditional traveling companions on airplanes, I usually put like a flyer or a piece of paper saying like, here's what's in it, here's what it looks like. It's not a bomb.
Yeah.
It's just like LEDs and stuff. I had like a picture up earlier from when I was traveling back for Thanksgiving that kind of went all over the place on the internet with some spelling mistakes that I caught 5 minutes after I posted it, sadly.
This guy right here, that one?
That one. Here's what it looks like, and I can't spell electronics or...
Oh, wow. That did go everywhere, didn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, it's basically like, don't hurt it. I put a lot of time and effort into it. Please try to repack it as best as possible, and
yeah,
stuff
that's
like that
good. I like to appeal to my common humanity with TSA agents whenever I can. If you're mailing it, though, boy, I'll tell you, you pack it like you could drop it off of a 2-story balcony, because that's basically what's going to happen to it. Doesn't matter if you write fragile on the side. In fact, I think if you write fragile on the side, they treat it worse.
I would not be surprised. I mailed my desktop some back and forth, and like the last time I did, the graphics card was broken out of it. It's like,
Oh,
okay,
no.
guys, you're fired. I'm taking this on the plane. But like if you're packing it and sending it through the mail, like put a wall of like upholstery foam like inside the box, which will help a lot.
Yes, definitely. All good tips. Good luck. And really like super good luck, because that can be a really harrowing experience. Okay, that was Chris. Thank you very much. This next one comes from Joshua. Let's see here. There's a chat question. Oh, where is it? If you make a pistol or a gun or a rifle prop, do you prefer if it is functional and can shoot, or are you content with just sexy looking props? I personally don't care if it shoots or not. That's my own thing. And if I'm going to bring it to a convention, it's better that it doesn't. Most conventions have rules against that. How about you, Kat? Do you have a preference on how much functionality you want your weapons to have?
I've made daggers and bows so far. Bows, you just have to make them look like they're strung but not be strung, because cons hate strung bows, whether or not the string is like an elastic band and doesn't actually do anything. I like, as much as I think it would be cool to have like props that actually work, if you're going to cons, don't do it. It's a hassle, and sometimes they're like, nope, this actually works, and you're like, but it can't hurt anyone, and they just take it away.
Yeah, for me, even just with my normal prop work, like I don't need it to function any more than to have something that looks really cool and feels really cool in your hand. Like that's the baseline for me. I don't need it to protect me at all. Like have actual, like people have asked me to make Airsoft Armor before. I have no desire to try and do that. I don't trust my ability to protect my eyeballs from incoming projectiles. And I certainly don't have any desire to make anything that sends projectiles downrange. But if you're going to do something like that, maybe just consider modding Nerf guns. That's a good place to start. Thank you, Joshua. Okay, let's keep churning. Just about 20 minutes left here in the hour. Got one here from Suzanne. I believe another one of our regulars. I'm seeing lots of regulars. This is awesome. Suzanne wants to know, were you planning on doing more video tutorials, Kat? I remembered you said something once on your Facebook page. Yeah, Kat, yes. You gonna do more video tutorials?
I am actually. I definitely am doing a video of like the process of making the costume I'm doing now, which is, I want to do like a cool like time lapse thing. But I want to do like at least like 5 or 6 video tutorials for like smaller things over the course of the year, just because like I enjoy teaching people, and I think videos are like really helpful way to do it. And I'm still trying to figure out how to make like comfortably long watchable videos with all the information in it. It's like, yeah,
that is the game I play constantly. Yeah.
But then my videos are like 20 minutes long and nobody wants to watch them. So
I think most of my videos that I shoot, they'll end up being like 5 to 10 minutes long. I probably shoot about 3 hours of footage for each one of those, and then I pair. So sometimes I'll be working on something and I hit record and it records for 5 minutes and I take 2 seconds of that.
Yeah, I bought myself a GoPro and I've been like filming myself doing things, which is I'm excited about. So
I have
to cut down all that footage.
Yeah, you do. You have to remember you got to edit all that. I just bought one of the tiny little GoPros, and I wanted one small enough that I could stick it on stuff while I'm working and stick it in my 3D printer. Yeah, like I could even put it in my laser cutter and close the lid and have it like get a really close view of lasering and then hopefully not get hit by a laser.
I want to see that. Please.
All right, cool. Good plan. Anyway, yeah, I just got one of those tiny GoPros and I'm really excited to use it. So yeah, cool. I'm excited to see more video stuff from you too, Kat. If you want to ever sit down and talk about how video making is a thing to do, you let me know. I've done a couple.
A couple, I think, is an understatement.
Yeah. I had to buy more hard drives last month. Just hard drives full of video files, everybody.
I'm steadily filling up my 2 terabyte hard drive. Like, no. They're 2 terabytes. You shouldn't be full.
Let's see. This next one comes from our buddy Sam. He says, Sam from Bio Cosplay wants to know, are there any things you prefer painting and do you look for excuses to do so? For example, painting props that look like metal, wood, etc. I really enjoyed painting foam to look like bone. That is a cool challenge. Do you have a preference, Kat? Do you have stuff you like doing?
I really like bone and metal, I think, the most. Just because I think I've gotten like a pretty solid like how to do metal in like 5 minutes and have it like look kind of like metal, which involves a couple different like shades of like aluminum and like gunmetal that I just sort of don't completely mix and then use a tissue and just like blot it on everything. Like I picked up this Destiny knife from Henchmen Props.
Oh yeah.
And I repainted it like super simple. And it's just fun to do metal, and like I did a lot of bone for my last hunter project, which I really enjoy. I enjoy like the fast, easy, but it looks like really real like paint jobs.
That's cool. I'll tell you what I enjoy doing. I like making stuff that looks manufactured, like space guns, and then making them look super weathered and used. So, for example, the folks at Smooth On today tweeted out the District 9 gun that I made for them that I'm super proud of. And this thing looks like it was made by some alien manufacturer. And then I got to go in and just weather the crap out of it, make it look all dirty. To me, that's the most satisfying part.
Weathering is so much fun.
Yeah, it's telling a story. But it's also making it, like, when you look at it, it looks like something that it's not something some Yahoo made in his basement. It looks like it came out of a factory, and that's like mission accomplished. All right. Thank you, Sam. Let's get another one over here. I'm really stoked, actually. That gun is going to Smooth On's headquarters in Pennsylvania, I think, and that's where it's going to live. So I'm pretty excited about that.
That's fancy.
I'll have to go visit them someday. Let's see here. We got one from Sandra. What type of adhesive do you use for PVC or PVC printed materials? I don't know that printers do PVC. Maybe PLA. I know my printers.
I don't know.
Yeah, I do know that melting PVC is a bad story. It's like toxic and stuff. But for PLA, super glue seems to work really well if you sand it pretty good. I don't know. I haven't done a lot of gluing in PLA. But if you are doing PVC stuff like PVC tubes, they make PVC cement for that. It's for plumbing. So that's a good
usually
thing.
Purple. I've worked with some in like robotics and things.
Yeah, I think the stuff I got is like a dark blue.
It's funny colored.
Yeah, it's funny colored. It smells really funny. Probably super toxic, so be careful with that. And Sandra also wanted to know, how easily is Worbla applied to EVA foam on the outside of instead of sandwiching for like decorations and stuff? I haven't really done much with Worbla, but I think you've done it quite a bit, right?
Yeah, I usually don't use the sandwich method because I just use it so much. I use it on pieces where like it's against my body, so like arm vambraces and like headdresses and sometimes boots, but it depends on the boots. I usually use the fold over method, which actually works surprisingly well. And for like thick EVA foam, you just sort of wrap it around and it grabs on or it doesn't really move. You can always like glue it too if you're worried about it, but it shouldn't. It also likes to stick to foam, which is
that's
nice.
good. Yeah,
so,
that is.
If you're heating something up, one of like the easy ways to do it is you sort of stick your foam thing on, whether or not it's the thin like 2mm stuff or the thick stuff. And while it's hot, it usually stays put. So you can like flip it over and like fold things over.
Very good. Very awesome. I'm gonna have to try out some more Worbla. I've been saying that for a long time though.
Get the black stuff.
I do actually have a roll of the black stuff I'm gonna play with.
It's so much nicer. Oh my god.
Fantastic. All right, we got another one. Let's see. That was Sandra. Thank you, Sandra, for your questions. This one here comes from Two Fingers. I hope Two Fingers didn't have some horrible shop accident. Let's see here. I'm starting a new project. I'm building a Lancer assault rifle from Gears of War, and I was wondering how to build up your props to make their weight more realistic without changing the size. So the opposite problem that you had. Two Fingers here wants his prop to be heavier.
You'll hate yourself. Don't make it heavier. But if you absolutely have to, like, stick heavy bolts inside, like just on the inside. That's I used to do it a lot with like sword hilts to like balance out like wood swords whose like pommels aren't as heavy as they would be if they were metal. You just stick a whole bunch of like nuts or washers inside, like either on like the handle or like the pommel to sort of even out the weight.
Yeah, that's some good advice right there. I'm building. This is the gun I'm building out here, and this tube is just for structure. It's going to get all covered up, but if I wanted to make this heavier, I could totally fill that tube with like nuts and bolts. If I wanted
or
to.
resin, toss resin in there.
Yeah, just fill it up with
heavy. Put
Smooth
resin.
Cast 300 or some fishing weights. That'll make it heavier too. I'm not. This is going to be heavy enough by itself, and I'm totally happy with that. So, Mr. Two Fingers, consider not adding weight. Just saying. All righty. Thank you for your question. Another one here from Lord Prius. Let's see here. Can you make a mold of cardboard and pour hot glue into it? I have a successful mold if you want to put wax in paper. Oh, you can mold hot glue. I've seen people actually kind of sculpt with hot glue, which is kind of neat. If you have something really super organic, you could even just like, it's almost, I mean, a hot glue gun is basically like the nozzle on a 3D printer. You just get to hold it in your hand and you can sculpt with hot glue. Although I would say that cardboard would probably adhere to your hot glue.
Yes.
But he does talk about using wax paper. I don't know. It sounds like something you ought to give it a try. Let's see what happens.
Even like wax paper sticks to hot glue, though it depends on the wax paper. Because I did at one point I was working on Daenerys's like Karth dress with like the fancy filigree belt thing that I made out of like hot glue on wax paper, and it did not peel off. But I've done some of like the sculpting with hot glue before I knew the hell what I was doing, like long ago, like in 2011 when I was like, let's try to make things out of foam maybe. If you can, like, put a little bit more money into like actual like mold making materials, because it's just so much better, and
yeah, it really is.
It will turn out nicer and you'll lose less sleep.
Good luck, sir. Let's see. Let's grab some more. We have just under 10 minutes here. And let's see here. Oh, Joshua has one that got split up here, but I'll grab the whole thing. Let's see, he's making a full-size BB-8. Yeah, Star Wars. For the sphere, he's going to have a mold of half a sphere made out of silicone with a plaster bonder mold. And he will need an even coat of resin on the inside. There are lots of different ways you can do that. Like, what would you think you did with your bow thing? Those are just solid, right?
But yeah, those are solid. I haven't tried doing like slush casting or roto casting yet.
But you're on the right track though. That's how one might do it. There's a couple of ways you could do that. I would actually consider using epoxy. So Smooth On makes EpoxAcoat, which is a gel coat. And what you would do is mix up your gel coat with the catalyst, brush a thin layer on the inside of your mold, and it just enough to coat the inside so it doesn't sag. You don't want BB-8 to have a really heavy spot on one of his domes. But maybe brush a couple of good gel coats on like that to get a nice shell. And then back that up with Fiberglass Cloth and EpoxAmite, which is their laminating epoxy. That way you can have a nice, even, sturdy, and durable piece inside of your mold there. And it will be a thin, homogeneous thickness all the way around the whole thing. So that's the way to do it. And it'll be super durable. It's basically fiberglass. So you're good to go. Good luck. It has a lot of material and a lot of work, but you are the one who decided to make a full-size BB-8.
I want a full-size BB-8. Please give me one.
Yeah.
I just want to hug it.
Good luck, Joshua. Let's see here. He just pointed out that he will only use Smoothcast 300. If that's all you have, you can even throw fiberglass in with that, but you don't have a lot of working time with it. So you could just brush several thin layers inside your mold there. That would totally work, but it would be a pain in the butt. What's the other thing? Oh, there's Smooth Out makes something called Urafil. I believe I use Urafil 9. It's basically a silica powder, so don't breathe it. It's shards of glass. But you can mix that in with your Smoothcast 300, and it will make it thicker and better and easier to brush. So there's just a whole bunch more stuff for you to buy. Good luck, Joshua. All right, we have time for just a couple more questions. This one comes from Jack Brick 101. Jack says, my friends and I are looking at building a constructor from Borderlands 2. So far, we plan to have a modular PVC skeleton with the rest constructed mainly out of foam. Do you have any suggestions to make it not horrible to transport? Thanks a ton. Another transportation question. What do you think, Kat?
I don't really know what it looks like. But...
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay. It's PVC and couplers, just couplers everywhere.
Yeah.
Couplers are the best.
Oh my goodness. It's like a giant robot thing.
Oh boy. Okay. Have everything come off a bowl.
Yeah. Actually, wasn't there a guy
super modular?
There was a guy at BlizzCon who had a giant robot
the Cyber-Rack.
Yeah, and that thing looked like it came apart in a lot of pieces.
Engineer it, figure out how it's going to come apart before you build it. Don't chop it up afterwards.
Yes, that's a very good point. You could build the whole skeleton for it out of PVC before you do any of the foam or outer works on it. And during that process, figure out how it's going to come apart for sure. But the PVC pipe and the couplers is exactly how my giant axe comes apart for my Crusader costume.
Yeah, my bow comes apart into 5 pieces with PVC too.
With that one, friction fit was enough to hold it together. It didn't need to screw together. It didn't need adhesives or anything. Yeah. Good luck, Jack. Man, everyone this week has really ambitious projects.
Let's build this giant robot or these other giant robots or just giant things. I feel like that's sort of the theme of this year so far is let's build big things.
And you know what's funny is I only want to build small things now. I made tiny little bottles, Nuka-Cola bottles as ornaments. And now I just want to make things little. Let's see. This one here is from Chris. And Chris wants to know, I'm trying to find reference materials for Fallout 4 weapons. Where should I look? Look in Fallout 4. I know for the Nuka-Cola bottle I just mentioned, I got a Nuka-Cola bottle in the game. And I went to it in my inventory, and I believe I hit like R3 or whatever on the PlayStation. And you can view the model in 3D, and you can rotate around it, and you can take screenshots with with a PlayStation. There's just a share button. You can take screenshots. That's how I got all my Fallout 4 references. It's built right kind of into the game. How do you? So for your bow, the giant bow you made, that's a World of Warcraft thing. So how'd you get the references of that?
There's a website called WowHead that has like 3D models of everything, and I just like open up and you can like spin things around and like zoom in. Can't always get all the angles, but it works really well. Yeah, that's how I love sites with 3D models. They're just the best.
Yes, yeah, it's really, really handy. That's how I did last year or the previous year. I did the barman shanker. I don't think I needed reference pictures of that, but I did it anyway. I went to WowHead. It's just a broken bottle that rogues can stab people with. There you go, Chris. Just jump right. It gives you another excuse to go play more Fallout 4. All right. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone, for bringing your wonderful questions. We've had a really active chat today. You guys are awesome. We have tons of amazing questions coming at you. Way more than we could ever finish up answering. But we'll do this again next week, and you guys can come back, and we'll totally answer your questions. Kat, thank you so much for hanging out with us for the last hour.
No, thank you guys so much. It's super awesome. I know I've watched the show a lot in the past, but being on it was super awesome, and hopefully I'll be able to catch it more in the future, but like school and college sort of gets in the way of
real life.
I have an SFX class on top of this, I think, this semester, which is sad.
Cool. Well, that does actually sound pretty fun. ValkyrieStudios.net is where you can catch all of Kat's stuff. Anywhere else people should go to see what's what?
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Valkyrie Studios.
Perfect.
Check me out. I like posting funny pictures and making fun of myself and making cool things and helping you guys. So if any of you have any more questions, come and like annoy me on my pages.
That sounds pretty fantastic. All right, everybody, that's it for this week's episode of Prop Live. We'll do this again next week, of course. I already have a guest lined up. In fact, I'm so ahead of the game, but I'm not going to tell you who yet. You'll just have to wait. We'll see you all next episode of Prop Live. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thanks for coming.